Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and my privilege to present the 2010 Policy Design Award to Mr. Wade Green.
It's my time to speak now. Thank you. Recipients of this award were invited to submit videos to help tell the story of why they're being honored. I didn't know they were already going to do one about me without my knowledge, but it looked okay. I demurred on doing my own video on the grounds that I didn't have many visuals around. Instead, what follows is my favorite plausibly outmoded medium, words, in the form of a pithy recital. Title, Nuclear Power, My Nucleus as an Activist. After a quarter of a century as an admirably detached and non-judgmental print journalist, I was hired by the Rockefeller family's philanthropy office in 1979 to advise family members on various matters, primarily a popular cause of the time, opposition to nuclear power. I didn't know much about nuclear power, pros or cons, but from reporting I had done, including the research for a journalism fellowship on the appropriate technology movement, I had a sense of the practical and political underpinnings of technology and an appreciation of the possibility that even the most admired technological advances can inflict really damaging collateral damage. After 3 Mile Island's near meltdown, construction of new nuclear plants ground to a halt in the United States, and my funding sources' attention soon broadened from nuclear power to nuclear arms, arms control, and to peace and security in general on one flank, and to environmental protection on another. A common denominator was and still is support of alternative energy, first as an alternative to nuclear power and to nuclear proliferation, later as an alternative to fossil fuels. An aspect of alternative energy became a prominent public focus with the oil embargo during President Carter's administration and his advocacy of energy conservation as the, quote, moral equivalent of war, for which rounding up the usual skeptics, to paraphrase Claude Rains, produce an acronym, MEOW. After the embargo ended, popular attention to saving energy faded, but I and my sources thought it was essential to keep employed a critical mass, so to speak, of alternative energy-minded groups and leaders. A recent magazine cover's subhead extolled what are now broadly seen as virtues of renewable energy. Quote, will halt global warming, clean up the planet, create millions of jobs, and make us all healthier, end quote. To which I would add that nuclear power continues to be an immensely expensive, terribly dangerous, and very slow to implement. In the last decade, public and scientific concerns about global warming has inspired the nuclear industry to focus on low carbon emissions of generating electricity by nuclear reactors, and the industry has proclaimed the advent of a nuclear renaissance. Ample campaign contributions and lobbying outlays may be making the proclamation self-fulfilling. Congress and the Obama administration have supported large financial subsidies for nuclear power. Last month's elections have further reinforced pro-nuclear tendencies in Washington. So I find myself still focusing on nuclear power and on what I think are appropriate alternatives. My effectiveness has depended on generous and conscientious financial sources, in keeping with the Rockefeller family's long philanthropic tradition, and on activist individuals and organizations that have worked tirelessly and smartly to oppose nuclear power and to promote alternatives at local, state, and federal levels. The certain prominence I have gained in the process in some circles, I attribute in part to Woody Allen's proclaimed ingredient for success, quote, showing up. I thank Global Green for the occasion to show up here, and thanks for Global Green's tribute, which should be seen as a recognition of the forces of supply and demand for which I have served, above all, as an observant middleman. Thank you.